Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept our humble obeisances from everybody who has joined the group. Hare Krishna Soni Mataji, thank you for joining in the group.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, Prabhuji, we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam and we are on Canto 1, Chapter 16. And the text for today, Prabhuji, is text 31. Chapter 16 is the how Parikshit received the age of Kali. So, Prabhuji, would you like us to... I like that, Prabhuji. Jai.
I cook, so I will use it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for receiving this small gift from Kenya. Okay. So today the text is text 31. And chapter 16 is how Parikshit received the age of Kali. So
Yes.
would you like us to read the Sanskrit translation and purport and then hand over to you, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Arya Govind Prabhu, are you able to read the Sanskrit?
Hare Krishna Mataji, yes. Verse number, please.
31.
Just give me a second, Mataji. Yeah, opening. Text 31.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Atmana chanushochami bhavantam chamarottamam devan pitrun rishin sadhun sarvan varnams tatashamam. Should I go read this translation also, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, continue, please.
Translation. I am thinking about myself and also, oh best amongst the demigods, about you as well as about all the demigods, sages, denizens of Pitraloka, devotees of the Lord, and all men obedient to the system of Varna and Ashrama in human society. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To effect the perfection of human life, there is cooperation between men and demigods, sages, denizens of the Pitraloka, devotees of the Lord, and the scientific system of Varna and Ashrama, or orders of life. The distinction between human life and animal life, therefore, begins with the scientific system of Varna and Ashrama, guided by the experience of sages in relation with the demigods, gradually rising to the summit of re-establishing our eternal relation with the Supreme Absolute Truth, the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. When God made Varnashrama Dharma, which is strictly meant for developing animal consciousness into human consciousness and human consciousness into godly consciousness, is broken by advancement of foolishness. The whole system of peaceful and progressive life is at once disturbed. In the age of Kali, the first attack of the venomous snake strikes against the God-made Varnashrama Dharma, and thus a person properly qualified as a Brahmana is called a Shudra, and a Shudra by qualification is passing as a Brahmana, all on a false birthright claim. To become a Brahmana by a birthright claim is not at all bona fide, although it may be a fulfillment of one of the conditions. But the real qualification of a Brahmana is to control the mind and the senses, and to cultivate tolerance, simplicity, cleanliness, knowledge, truthfulness, devotion, and faith in the Vedic wisdom. In the present age, consideration of the necessary qualification is being neglected, and the false birthright claim is being supported even by a popular, sophisticated poet, the author of Rama Charitamānasa. This is all due to the influence of the age of Kali. Thus, Mother Earth, represented as a cow, was lamenting the regrettable condition. Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Arya Govind Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Dina Sharan Prabhu. I hand over to you now. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you for having me. So we're continuing with our study of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 16. Today's text is number 31, which reads again, I am thinking about myself and also, O best among the demigods, about you, as well as about all the demigods, sages, denizens of Pitraloka, devotees of the Lord, and all men obedient to the system of Varna and Ashram in human society. So we may remember the background is that title of the chapter is how Maharaj Parikshit received the age of Kali. And here, the bull, Dharma in the shape of the bull, is questioning mother cow, Gomata, who was not looking very good, looking very unhappy. And so he was asking, and the past few verses he has been questioning why she is looking so unhappy. And the cow, mother cow, is answering here. I am thinking about myself, O best among the demigods, about you, as well as about all the demigods, sages, denizens of Pitraloka, devotees of the Lord, and all men obedient to the system of Varna and Ashram in human society. And in the purport, we hear Srila Prabhupada saying, where is that? When God made Varnashram Dharma, which is strictly meant for developing animal consciousness into human consciousness and human consciousness into godly consciousness, is broken by advancement of foolishness, the whole system of peaceful and progressive life is at once disturbed. And then in the next sentence, in the age of Kali, the first attack of the venomous snake strikes against the God-made Varnashram Dharma, and thus a person properly qualified as a Brahmin is called a Sudra, and a Sudra by qualification is passing as a Brahmin. So some of us may be familiar, perhaps not in Africa or elsewhere in the world, outside of India. But in India, there is, and there has been, especially in the past, this whole thing about Brahmins and castes. Other parts of the world, other countries have this about caste, different categories of people living in the country. So in India especially, this caste system, which a number of people around the world know at least these words, caste system. Oh, that caste system in India. If someone born in a particular family is automatically a Brahmin or untouchable, and they're forced to live according to that. So Srila Prabhupada is pointing out here the fact, on the basis of the Vedas, that this is not the way it's supposed to be. If anyone asks, well, where is it stated? There are many places, but they're in the 7th canto, in the discussion between, I think, Narada Muni and Maharaj Yudhisthira. There's a whole discussion about the instructions for civilized men. The title of the chapter is something like that. And it is many details about how each category of society should live. So somewhere in there, Narada Muni says that actually a Brahmin is by qualities, not by birth. Actually, the whole thing is, the whole idea of that is, it's just ridiculous, really. Although there's some people who are very caught up in it, and there's political factors, but actually simply doesn't make any sense. How is that possible? Someone born in a family of a judge is a judge. How could the daughter or son sit on the bench? It's just silly. So Narada Muni, and there are other places in the Vedas, it is stated, no, actually, someone who is to be considered a Brahmin should have the qualities of a Brahmin and should act like a Brahmin. So, and this makes good sense. But in human society, there in Africa, all over the world, there's so much politics, us and them, right? There are many. There are several there in Africa, different countries, where there is intense fighting between different factions, same population, same people, basically, but there's political. One party is trying to control the other, get rid of the other, take control. We're better than you. In Rwanda, some decades ago, there was horrible murders, hundreds of thousands of people, I think 600,000 people, something were killed. The Tutsis and the other group, I forget, they were fighting. And Cambodia, millions of people in Cambodia long ago were murdered. Germany by Hitler. In Russia with Stalin, millions of people, not just a few dozen, millions. It's hard to imagine. Millions of people were killed in genocide. Albania. Oh, you belong to that group, well, we're going to get rid of you. Or we're superior. Here in America, the blacks and the whites, a little better now, but many, many years ago, not that long ago, up until 50 years ago, there was segregation. People of black color, African American, they could not, they had to sit in the back of the bus and drink from different water fountains and not go to the same restaurant. And it was only 55 years ago. So this is political activity between one group and another group. We know, we humans, some of us more than others, we have a tendency to want to be superior. We want to feel that we're better. And some of us may know people who they tend to be critical. They're always talking bad. Oh, the people next door, these people are doing this. This person at work is doing this, and they're so wrong. They're so terrible. And then they feel better about themselves. They feel superior. Srila Prabhupada even mentions this tendency to pull other people down. The tendency of the dirty mind is to pull someone down and lift ourselves up so that we can feel superior. It is a psychological, emotional need, a hunger. And actually, to the extent that people do this, psychologists say, it is to the extent that they have low self-esteem. They have a poor valuation of their own self. If they loved themselves as they are, if they appreciated themselves as they are, whatever that is, then they wouldn't feel like pulling other people down. And it goes back to self-love. Not to go too far, but a little ways. So much of bad human behavior, unwanted human tendencies, have to do Of course, it has to do with our self-image. If we're not feeling good about ourselves, then we're very prone, we have a tendency to criticize other people for no good reason. And it's just emotional stuff. And even deeper than that, on the spiritual platform, we have our envy of Krishna. That is the original root of this being hostile towards others and criticizing others and trying to control and abuse others, whether it's men with women or parents with children or political leaders, because of this hate, hostility towards other people, because of hating Krishna. If we're trying to be the supreme person in the office or in the neighborhood, then we're going to be stepping on other people. And we're going to feel like that, especially if we don't recognize Krishna. If we're thinking ourselves that I can be God, then we will act like that. And we see horrible abuse, terrible atrocities. So here in this purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks a lot. Of course, this is what Gomata, the cow, says. When God made Varnashram Dharma, which is strictly meant for developing animal consciousness into human and human into godly consciousness, is broken by advancement of foolishness, the whole system of peaceful and progressive life is at once disturbed, which brings us back, we were talking about Brahmins. So if we don't have qualified people learned in the scriptures who are actually following, if we don't have a head on the body, then the body will just flap around. That's simple. And if we have a bunch of Brahmins running around who aren't really Brahmins, then there's going to be trouble, because the religious teachers are meant to give spiritual wisdom. And if we don't have people who are genuine, following the religious wisdom, then how will other people be inspired? How will they learn? So Varnashram Dharma, we know that is the system for religious system for organizing society in a religious way, people following the religious principles, so that they can progress and be peaceful. So the whole thing goes to hell when that system is broken in society, just like we see all over the world. We don't have very many religious leaders, Brahminical leaders, or leaders who are guided by Brahmins who appreciate spiritual principles. There is segregation of religion and secular life. Just like here in America, there's very strict separation of spiritual and material. It's not allowed spiritual leader. It's not encouraged by politicians directly. There are some countries which are more, they're called theocracies, which means the whole society or most of it is based on some religious system. It's like some of the Islamic Muslim countries, although it doesn't go on perfectly, they are theocracies. They are very much, the society is very connected to their religious principles. And of course, there are many families, so many families all over the world. Maybe not the society, but the family is Christian or they're Hindu or Jewish or Islamic, and some are very strict, very strict. So the point is being made here that when that culture is broken, then all hell breaks loose. So I don't think this is hard to understand or appreciate. And therefore, if we want peace, and of course we do want peace in society, there can only be peace, real peace, when the leaders are promoting spiritual principles. It doesn't have to be a specific religion, because spiritual principles are universal. And spiritual principles means, of course, our relationship with God and our identity as spirit, and the goal of going back to the eternal spiritual world. So those things, they are true of any religion, essentially. And the principles are basically the same. Basically being a good person, being considerate and tolerant and compassionate and charitable, clean, hardworking, devoted to God, some kind of prayers regularly, and study of the religious scripture. These are common to all the world religions. Even in India, for worship of the demigods, same thing, regular prayers and devotions and a certain rules of life. And this keeps us heading in the right direction. So the bull, Dharma, is asking why she appears so sad. And this is one of the several reasons. Because she sees, and just think, even if we feel that this Srimad Bhagavatam that we're reading, even if we think that these verses, suppose they only go back to maybe the year 800, 1200 years ago, 1300 years ago, still, how accurate they are. All these verses are describing exactly what's happening, especially in the past 400 or 500 years, especially in the past 150 years. So how is that possible? So, but actually, we accept that this wisdom is eternal, because Krishna, God, is eternal, and it comes and it goes at different times. And here we have it in this Srimad Bhagavatam set down by Vyasadeva, something like 5,100 years ago. So Srila Prabhupada begins the purport saying, to effect the perfection of human life, there's cooperation between men and demigods, sages, denizens of the Pitra Loka, devotees of the Lord, and the scientific system of Varna and Ashram. So if we want peace, we want to encourage a leader. We want to encourage parents, managers of schools, anyone who is a leader, business owners, and of course, the prime ministers and the secretaries of countries, that they should encourage people to follow whatever faith they have and to follow the religious principles that they follow or they can follow. In this way, automatically, there'll be much more peace and harmony in society. People will be good. People will be much more good-hearted, and they won't do as many crazy, violent things, abusive things. People ask, well, you Hare Krishnas, you're just living in ashrams, or you just keep to yourself. You don't care about society. What are you doing for society? So our focus is not as full bore on feeding people and opening hospitals and things like that, like other religions. We do feed in India, ISKCON, related organizations feed hundreds of thousands of children every day for many, many years. And there's so many feeding programs, and there's medical outreach. But of course we care. And that we can say, of course we care, but we are guided by very deep thinkers. We are guided by very wise, long-range thinking people. That there's not much use, there's a little use, but to take some medicine for a headache, the real thing is to get rid of the disease that causes the headaches. So Krishna consciousness means curing the very root of the problem. And so we tend to be, as devotees of Krishna, of course, focused on a final solution. If someone falls into the ocean from some dock, some pier, they fall off into the water, and someone dives in and rescues the woman's purse, her pocketbook. So that's good. Not that it's not good. It would be a little better to save the woman, of course, you know. So it is like that. That's a very simple example that, of course, we care. We see so much madness going on, so much fighting and starvation and suffering of all kinds. And of course we care, but we want to fix it in a final way. And so for that, we're guided by Lord Krishna. As he says, this material world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. The whole place is certified as a place of different sufferings, and it's temporary. And there is no way to turn hell into heaven. Not that this place is hell all the time, but it's so many difficulties, and it's never going to be perfect. We want to go back to that place which is perfect. The tad vashayate suryo, the shankuna pavaka, yadgatva the vartante tad dam paramamama. So this is our solution. What is our solution? To suffering, to headaches, to stomach aches, to divorces, murders, political corruption. What is our solution? It's to leave this place where such things happen and go back to the spiritual world where such things don't happen. So this makes good sense. And as far as possible, while we're here, we try to do what we can to make things easier. We don't have to walk around with a thorn in our foot just because, well, the world is suffering and it's a place of suffering and I'm not going to pull the thorn out of my foot. We don't have to do that. But we shouldn't make that the focus of our life, that somehow I can be happy here forever. It's not going to happen. So we have what we feel is a balanced idea, that be as comfortable as we can without working too hard, without getting distracted, and work towards a final solution. So are there any questions or discussions so far? Everyone agree? Any challenges? Any thoughts about all this?
Prabhuji, two questions or thoughts. The first one being when you said that people with low self-esteem, they try to pull other people down.
I'm not hearing. Is your microphone okay?
How about now, Prabhuji? How about now? Prabhuji, are you able to hear me?
We are able to hear you, Mataji.
Maybe someone else could try and repeat, see if it's any different.
Okay, let me ask my question that where people with low self-esteem, they want to pull other people down.
Oh, yeah, now I can hear you. What?
Yeah, so people who have low self-esteem, they pull other people down, and in the process, they are not. In the process, they are hating Krishna. So, Prabhuji, can you please try and throw more light on that?
Yeah.
And the second question is, yes, we agree this place is Dukhala and Shashwatam. And we just need to tolerate whatever situation we are in. And this is quite a motherly advice. Like I remember when I came to England, my mother said, just do what you can. I mean, don't drive towards getting the best and going into your career and working hard. But this is dog eats dog world, and you have to focus on your career and you have to rise up. So it's an anomaly, and so if you can throw lights on these two questions, Prabhuji, we'll appreciate.
Yes, yes. So I was just thinking that sometimes we hear prayers where the devotees are saying, I'm lower than a worm in a stool. I'm a hellish kind of entity. I'm so sinful. I'm so wretched. And this, so how does that match with self-love and self-esteem? I think that's a question I've heard. I can really, it's all right to love myself. Isn't that being vain? And that's a good question. So Srila Prabhupada explains to us that one who loves Krishna loves everyone, and that includes ourselves. So then how do we understand these prayers that I'm lower than a worm in stool, and I'm a dog, and I'm a pig? So we can understand that because they're pure devotees, of course they love themselves. They respect themselves because it could not be otherwise. So then we can understand that this is a particular mood in a particular situation. That yes, I do appreciate myself. I am part of Krishna. I do respect myself and care about myself. At the same time, I realize that I have made mistakes. I have been offensive to Krishna, and so I feel humble. They're not incompatible. We can feel good about ourselves in a absolute way, and at the same time recognize that, feel a little ashamed. Oh, I've done some wrong things, so I will fix it. And this is different than vanity. Vanity, someone is overly, I'm so handsome, I'm so qualified, I'm so capable, I'm so this, and they actually think like that. And they carry on, so we know. So I think all of us know what that's being vain. That's different than self-respect. Does anyone have any questions about that?
Prabhuji,
Or comments?
what if there are people around you that make you feel like that? So they invade into your privacy, and then they make you feel that you are the lower life. And so how do you tolerate that? Because it is natural to have feelings for them, hateful feelings towards them, because they try to oppress you.
Yeah, it could be our parents. It could be an abusive spouse. It could be an employer. The neighbors, the neighborhood. From many different sources, we get that, we hear it. And especially for a child, it can be very damaging, because then they leave their early years thinking, I'm of less valuable. I'm of less value. I don't deserve happiness. I'm bad. And then they let themselves get involved in bad things because that's what I deserve. They get involved in promiscuity and drugs, or just they don't seem to be able to hold a job because I don't deserve it. I'm not going to try. So damaging it can be. And even adults, when they hear it constantly or regularly, especially from someone they care about. Because as we speak about occasionally, this thing about heart-to-heart relationships is very powerful. For someone on the bus who tells us that we look like a monkey, that's one thing. But when our mother tells us that, or father, again and again, it hurts because of the relationship. Yeah. So how not to be damaged by that? It's hard. It's said in modern psychology that within ourselves, don't give them that power. We have to. So we say, and it's natural. He made me feel this way. She made me, and it's really not true. It's very important to take responsibility. Yes, this person gave me an ingredient. This person acted in a way which I could feel, but I don't have to. See, I'm not a helpless victim. Very, very powerful understanding that no, I am responsible for how I take this, even though it is hard. And there's no doubt that the other person may be speaking hurtfully, but still, we can learn how to protect ourselves, our mind, by taking this kind of attitude. I'm not a victim. I am not what this person is saying. I don't give them the power. And to actually think those words. I do not give him or her the power to damage my self-love. And it's almost a mystical thing. We are energizing our psyche to put up a protective shield. When we feel, oh, this person is making me feel this, and then it becomes a reality. We are molding our mind so that that's real. And just like some men and women who are, or even children who are in abusive relationships, it's very important for them to take their power back, to realize I can change the situation and remove myself. And we can remove ourselves emotionally. So by this, I take my power back. And to associate with people who do care about us, who do have a level head, who can give us the right ideas. You know, my boss keeps telling me I'm useless, I'm stupid, I'm an idiot. And so we go to a trusted friend or relative or counselor and get the right understanding. So we have strength from friendly, trusted other people to help us. And then we can also, there are different, if you go online, you can find easily, 10 tips for protecting self-esteem, 10 tips for living in an abusive relationship, whatever kind of relationship that is. And then there's standard techniques for doing that. Even yogically, there is the understanding of the chakra system. We have different energy centers, and there are certain exercises which actually work. Because again, as Jesus said, if you had faith, you could move mountains. And that's a very deep statement. If you had faith, you could move a mountain. Athletes use this. Sports professionals use this. Anyone who's familiar uses this. It is positive. It is the power of positive thinking that, yes, I can participate in this sports. I will play excellently today. I will play my best today. And it actually creates an inner attitude, which is very powerful. Even Jesus said, if you had enough willpower, if you had enough faith, because just think, this is not just psychological mumbo jumbo. Think how Lord Krishna, think how God creates. He just thinks. Yogis who make a little gold in their palm, they do it by thinking and by strong faith. Yes, there will be gold in my hand. And they practice. So many of us don't realize how much power we actually have to change or have an effect upon our situation. We do. So by will, Krishna just thinks and it happens. So this idea of using our will, you can wrap our subtle body, wrap our chakras in aluminum foil. Try it. If you're with someone or some situation you don't like, imagine being wrapped in this foil, or imagine a glass upside down, a giant glass covering you. And it creates this visualization of a wall, and it works. Try it next time you're in a meeting or you have to talk to someone about something emotional. Wrap yourself. And by that will, by that visualization, we create a real wall of protection. So these techniques, they're out there for not becoming damaged by others. So that was there some other question? There was two different.
Yes, thank you very much, Prabhuji, for the first question. And the second question was on we should endeavor to work only the amount that we.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah, it's even Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says it's a struggle. Yeah. So Srila Prabhupada, one simple way is just don't do something that breaks your sadhana. Right? Our sadhana, our spiritual practice, is a very most important part of our life. And if we keep that, that's what we're talking about in the verse today, that we have to keep intact our spiritual practices. And that's first. And then do whatever else that we need to do. So that may mean that I only work 12 hours a day or 10 hours a day because I have to come home. I have to do something spiritual in the morning, do something in the evening, and I'm not going to be as successful as someone who works 14, 16 hours a day. Unfortunately, I may not get an animal body like they may have. That's my loss. I may just have to accept going back to the spiritual world. What can I do? So everything has its price. So that is our so that we just don't. I often say that. I've shared that with dozens and dozens of people that don't break your spiritual practices. Well, I have to work overtime. My boss says I have to go to work. I have to work overtime. I'm not going to get up early in the morning. Well, you may have some. You may not be able to have the same spiritual practices for 3 weeks or 3 months. That's we take responsibility for that. Somehow, because of my past activities, I'm in a situation where my wife doesn't let me chant out loud. I have to go outside and it's not easy, and then it's raining out, and yeah, it's going to be, we do the best we can do. Like your mother said, we have to tolerate. That's another kind of toleration, even, which may be surprising. We have to tolerate even we may not be able to have the best Krishna consciousness for some time. I'm in university, I'm studying. Well, that's the way it's going to be for 3 or 4 years, and then it'll be over. It's temporary. Krishna is not some kind of mean person looking to find fault with you. So do your best, and then as soon as possible, see, those are the words. As soon as possible, change it. As soon as your overtime is over, get back to what you were doing. I think this is sensible. We can't lament too much because what can you do? Just do the best we can.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Are there any other questions or comments from the group?
I can't hear.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. I had a question that like most of the people around us, you are able to hear me, Prabhu?
Now I can, when you lean forward, yes.
Okay. I had a question that like most of the people around us seems to be in ignorance of the fact that they're not this body, they are spirit souls. See, that is the main challenge, that to bring them to Krishna consciousness or to make them understand. That is the main challenge. It's a big big mountain to climb. Okay, our
Yes.
sadhana itself is a mountain to climb as well, but still people around us, many of us, I think, if I put a percentage, 90% of them, whatever background there may be, maybe Indian, African, American, uh, most of them are ignorant of the fact that they're not this body and they're this soul. So that is an uphill task, Prabhu.
Yes, I mean, why do all this? Why be Krishna? Why follow? Why be a devotee unless without understanding that? I mean, in my early years, as I came to understand, at least theoretically, the Bible made a lot more sense to me. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. And people say, you people are crazy. You don't eat meat, and you don't do this, and you're just crazy, because they don't appreciate the value. It's not surprising. It's not surprising. We don't blame them at all. Of course, they're going to think like that. We think like that. As we sometimes forget or become a little forgetful, then why am I doing this? Why should I keep doing it? But as you say, when we remember, oh, I'm eternal, I'm spiritual, then yeah, I got to do this. Yes, we appreciate it. That therefore it is so, especially in our beginning years, it is so important to deliberately remind ourselves. Just like the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, different places in our literature, there is a lot of talk about how we're not this body. And it's a very good idea once a week or whenever to specifically read something, hear a lecture about just this one thing, that I'm not this body. Greatly help us to remain enthusiastic, especially when we're tempted, right? We're all tempted sometimes to break the regular principles or to be slack. But if we're remembering, right, we won't be so tempted.
Also, as Prabhupada always said, if you don't have anything else to do, just chant. So,
yeah.
If you have completed your rounds, still you chant, and then, don't waste your time.
Yes. Yeah. We want to stay awake. Yeah. Anyone who's doing some business or some career or sport, anyone who's devoted to something, they use every opportunity to get better, to make progress. So we should do that. We hear the advice, and this is another good advice from Srila Prabhupada, that don't forget birth, death, old age, and disease. So really those two things, remembering that I'm a spiritual person, and what they say proactively, if necessary, reminding yourselves. Sometimes I look at pictures of the intensive care units of hospitals. I just go online and I look at some photos just to remind myself that just because it feels like a good day, anything can happen. This whole world is. So we should, so this is being proactive, and Krishna will appreciate that. And we'll remain more enthusiastic. So it may sound a little morbid, but it's not morbid. It is just staying awake, because we do forget. We have a nice meal and we have a nice time with the family and the job is going good, and it's just our mind begins to think everything is okay. Why should I chant extra rounds? Why should? So it's just, we know that. So therefore we plan ahead. This is intelligence.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Someone
Hare
has to
Krishna.
stay awake. The parents, the leaders, the managers, someone has to stay awake. It is a very serious responsibility. Otherwise, everyone else is doomed. Therefore, the Brahmins, or those who are spiritually awake, are so valuable. They're so very, very valuable, incredibly priceless valuable. Even though it may seem they're maybe useless for other things, but they're awake. Get out of here. You're in a fire. We're in a fire. Get out of this frying pan. Go back to Krishna. So we say the Brahmins live a life of austerity. I think some of us have heard that. So that means they live their life, sometimes not doing things because it will hurt their being awake. This is what it means, austerity. That the Brahmins, a Brahminical person, deliberately makes choices which seems like a material negation or material loss. As you were saying about the job, yeah, I could, I could take some extra certification. I could get a higher managerial job. But if I do that, I will work so many more hours. I will be in anxiety about the different people that I'm managing. And so I won't do it. I won't do it. It will hurt my being awake. And anyways, I'll have enough money to live. So this is the austerity of a Brahminical person. I would like to eat 2 more plates of prasadam at 10 o'clock at night, but I won't be able to get up very good. So I won't. So it's an austerity. We may feel a little, oh, I really wanted to eat, but I will not do that. And Krishna will reward us because he sees what we're doing, and he will give us more happiness than the 2 extra cakes. Or whatever it is that we were thinking we were going to do to be happy. Krishna can easily replace the inner happiness. But we have to show him. And that's the other thing, is that we can't expect to have Brahma Sokyam Tvananta, Tapo Divyam Puchkajena, Brahma Sokyam Tvananta. We may have heard this from the 5th canto, when Lord Rishabhadeva is instructing his 100 sons. And he says, look out the window. I'm not making something up. Look out the window right now. There's donkeys and dogs and cats, asses, so many animals. And what are they doing? Don't be like them. Just look out your window. Don't be like them. They sleep, they get up, they eat, they look for sex, they bark, they defend themselves. That's all they do. Don't do that. Brahma Sokyam Tapo Divyam. This human life is meant for divine austerity, divine sacrifice. And what is the result? Brahma Sokyam Tvanantam, unlimited spiritual happiness. Krishna says that too. Param Drisvar Nivartate. One experiences a higher inner pleasure. And in the 6th canto, there are a few verses where it's said that the yogi, because of meditating on Krishna, experiences so much inner happiness, they don't know what to do with it. And because of experiencing it, they don't deviate. So it's not just at the end of this life we're going to God, but in this life we can feel real inner joy, real inner happiness beyond sense gratification. But it will only come by tapo divya. We have to show that that's what we want. No, I'm not going to overindulge in this sense gratification. I want the inner, the eternal, And Krishna says, oh, okay. You can't do both. You can't do both.
It's like a austerity, like an student takes to pass the examination in
I'm
better
sorry,
marks.
it is just now not coming.
Sorry.
Not hearing.
Sorry. Can you hear now? Hare Krishna. You can hear now.
Yes, I can hear you. Maybe if you can tell me, then I can.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Okay, now is it like?
Can you try someone to?
Analogy is like, is it like a student trying to
Yeah,
pass an
it's the
examination?
connection tonight, I think.
Is it like an analogy of student wanting to better an exam and then he sacrifices seeing television or seeing anything else, football match?
Yeah.
But he does a lot of hard work with discipline.
Yeah.
But at the end, he gets the results.
So in the beginning, it takes some confidence, some faith. We talk about faith. So we read about saints and great devotees who are so happy. We see it not just in history, we can see devotees, spiritual people now who live very simple life, and they look pretty happy. So that will help us have confidence that there's something here. I should push on. I will get it. These people have it. These people in the past talked about it. I see these other people, they seem to be so happy, and I can have it too. So we can have confidence. Now, the thing is, like Queen Kunti says, Krishna is the property of the Akinchana Gotra. He is the property of the materially exhausted. And this is why, this is one big reason, we ask that why, how come I'm not so enthusiastic? Or why this person, we only see them on Sunday or festivals, they don't come around very much, because they're too much satisfied by material, they're not done enough. They're not ready for Brahma Sokyam Tvananta. They're thinking, what? Give up drinking? Give up so much sex? No, it's a lot of fun. I'm not going to do that. So they're not ready. And it takes time. Everyone, it is guaranteed, everyone will eventually become ready. And not everyone is, we're all ready to different degrees. So, and we can't, so this is what even me or us, we may know this all sounds good, but we may not be ready either, completely, 100%. And that's just a fact. So therefore, we have varnashram, we have married life, so that we can satisfy our desires, physical and emotional, in a peaceful way, regulated way, and then gradually we're done. No more of that. I'm done. And when we were talking about the mindset. So when our mind truly thinks like that, then we'll Brahma Sokyam Tamananta. Yes, I will not eat those 2 other plates of prasadam. I will not do that. I will not do that because it will ruin my inner spiritual, and I value it. I value that. I don't want to be addicted to that other thing because it's like thorns. I eat all that food, but then I feel sick. And I do this and I do that, and it's not that there's nothing there, but afterwards it's just not so good, really. So then eventually we no more of that or less. Then we are akinchana gotra. Then we can more easily go after Krishna. So it's a very real thing. You can't speed it up too much. You can't force it. It takes time. Of course, we can pray. We can ask, please help me get over this. We can do that. That will help. Krishna will help us. He will help us speed it up. So we don't have what might take 20, 30 years. Maybe Krishna will help us get through it in 5 years or 8 years. Krishna can do that. So we can ask, we can hope, but at the same time, we have to be gentle with ourselves and not get depressed or angry or think less again. Not think less, I'm such a horrible devotee. I'm doing this. I'm still interested in. No, don't hate yourself. Just see it. That's a yogi. A yogi, 6th chapter Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, the devotee observes. Oh, wow, my mind is so addicted. Oh, not so good. Got to keep working on it. And that's it. There's very little incrimination or, I'm terrible. I should just observe it and take action. That's called the mode of goodness. Oh, my car is out of gas. I need to get some petrol. That's all. Just do it. You don't have to get all emotional about it. Right? That's what Krishna advises.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for that. We have exhausted our time, so we can request Arya Govind Prabhu. Prabhu, are you able to close this session today for us, please? Hare
Yes.
Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. I hope all of you can hear me. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, I can hear you.
Okay. So thank you, Prabhuji, for all this practical tips on the spiritual understanding, and then how to carry on our life with the day-to-day activities, and how to not fall into Maya, and then how to not also disturbed with the level of Krishna consciousness we have. So we just get on with it, and then we progress on a step-by-step basis. Yes.
We're so critical of ourselves sometimes. Krishna is not nearly as critical.
Yes.
We should remember that. Yeah.
Correct. Thank you so much, Prabhu. I request all the devotees to unmute and then chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra once in glorification of His grace, Dina Sharan Prabhu.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His grace, Prabhu ki jai. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Everyone be well. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you for all.
Krishna.
You're all very wonderful people.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Prabhu.
for your kindness, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.